What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today we're looking at the Decidueye Obstagoon in the standard format, Team Up through Darkness Ablaze, and this specific list placed third in a Hexter tournament this past week. There were over 100 players in the tournament, and Ed Valencia, who created this list and piloted it, was able to place in the top 4 out of over 100 players with this fairly unique deck. So the Decidueye Obstagoon has been, there's been some murmurs about it, but it hasn't really been mainstreamed yet as far as I know. And it seems like it might just be the better way to play Decidueye. So that's what we're looking at today. Before we look at the list though, shout out to PotownStore.com, the best place for you to get PTCGO codes. Make sure you use code Celio for 5% off, and huge thanks to everyone that's been using the code because it supports my sponsor and it also supports my channel. So Decidueye is a new card from Darkness Ablaze, 140 HP stage 2, fairly weak in that regard, and it also has an attack to do 90 damage for 2 energy and then 20 to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Also a bit weak by the standards of today's popular meta cards in standard format, but it has the ability Deep Forest Camo that makes none of that relevant. The ability says prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon V and Pokemon GX. So if your opponent only has V and GX Pokemon, or they have support Pokemon that aren't those but can attack with them, then it doesn't matter how much damage you're doing, because you will just chip away at them and win eventually if they can't hit this Decidueye at all. So Decidueye is kind of a walling Pokemon, but you do eventually want to win by knocking things out and taking prize cards. So Obstagoon comes in to cover what Decidueye does not. So Deep Forest Camo prevents damage from V and GX, but Galarian Obstagoon has the attack Obstruct for dark colorless, 90 damage, similar to Decidueye, except it's the walling ability here is in Obstagoon's attack, not in its ability. So Obstruct reads, during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. So if your opponent has a list that does not feature any evolution Pokemon or any evolution Pokemon that can attack in that deck, Galarian Obstagoon becomes the optimal walling option in this list. If your opponent does have evolved Pokemon, but they have no non-V, non-GX Pokemon that can attack Decidueye, or at least efficiently, then Decidueye becomes the most optimal choice. So Decidueye is the main card of the deck. You'll see there's a 4-2-4 line of Decidueye, and then there's only a 2-1 line, a 2-0-1 line of Obstagoon. So you have to candy it. There's no middle evolution in this list, because Decidueye covers more of the popular decks that you might see in a tournament, whereas Obstagoon is a little more niche and it covers less matchups. So, like I said, if your opponent has no non-GX or non-V Pokemon, you're going with Decidueye. If they are an all-basic Pokemon deck, like maybe ADP Zacian or Lucametal, then Galarian Obstagoon. The only other Pokemon in the deck, we have 4 Jirachi Stellar Wish. Look at the top 5, grab a trainer from there. Jirachi's asleep. And of course, there's 4 Scoop Up Net. So once you get one of these walling options active and you're attacking, and it's the correct one for that matchup, you don't want to have a bench. So you're going to scoop up everything else that was on your bench or just let it get knocked out. So you can just have an active Pokemon, no bench. If you know your opponent has no options to knock it out, you just stay with that one active Pokemon for the whole game, swing with your Splitting Arrow or your Obstruct until you win. And that's how this kind of deck works. It is a meta counter deck. So depending on how well respected a deck like this is, it kind of goes up and down in viability. One week it might be a really good play because nobody's teching for it, and then the next week after it performs well, like this one did, it might be the worst deck in the tournament because everybody has an answer to it. So this is a deck that really drifts up and down in its viability and its strength for specific tournaments. So if you can only build 1 or 2 decks on PTCGO, I wouldn't suggest this being one of them, since it can really come in and out of viability. But if you have a nice collection built and you would like to try this unique deck, then go right ahead. It's really annoying to wall your opponent out, and you can get a lot of like free wins if your opponent does not have a tech. So onto the trainers. We have 4 Quick Ball and 3 Pokemon Communication. We want to be searching our Pokemon. I think 4 Quick Ball, 3 Calm is fine. Of course, 4 Calm would be preferred if there was the space, but 3 is just fine. 4 Rare Candy, of course, to get our Stage 2 Pokemon down immediately onto our basic Pokemon as early as turn 2. There are 2 Dartrix here, but you want a Rare Candy when able. And if you happen to have a Dartrix, maybe you have 2 Rowlets in play, you'll evolve one into a Dartrix, Candy the other. Also note, this Rowlet has 60 HP, the other one has 50. It's better to use the one with more HP if you're not going to be using it for the attack. And there's no Bird Keeper in here, so you would not use the other Rowlet anyway with the Wind Shard and Sky Circus. 4 Scoop Up Net, like I said. 2 Switch. So you have 4 Scoop Up Nets, so you don't need to switch your Pokemon out too often. You can just let a couple get knocked out, since if you get your wall Pokemon, your opponent won't ever take 6 prize cards. So letting them take some knockouts is completely fine. And you don't need to be switching in and out of Jirachi all the time, because once you get your setup, your optimal Pokemon, either Obstagoon or Decidueye, you're done setting up for the game. You're just swinging with your attack from there. If your opponent has energy removal, you're attaching energy. Maybe you're bossing something up to finish the game quicker, and that's kind of it. But Jirachi is a really good starter, but like I said, you can just Scoop Up Net all of them or let them get knocked out, whatever it is. The 2 Switch is fine. Tool Scrapper can be okay to get rid of something like Metal Goggles, so your opponent can't just sit there and tank infinite damage in the Luke Metal deck. Turffield Stadium, once during each player's turn, you may search your deck for an Evolution Grass Pokemon. So on top of the 4 Quick Ball, 3 Calm, you also have this stadium that's really convenient for this deck. It gets you out an Evolution Grass Pokemon, so either Dartrix or Decidueye. The supporter line has 4 Research, discard your hand, draw 7. 3 Marnie, the Shuffle. Both players shuffle their hand to the bottom of their deck. You draw 5, your opponent draws 4. 2 Boss's Order for the generic Gust effect. And then Rosa, which is really popular in Obstagoon, Decidueye, these kind of decks where you don't mind your Pokemon getting knocked out, and then you just need to set up one combo turn. So this allows you to get your Pokemon, your Rare Candy, and your energy attachment after something gets knocked out, and you're just set up from there. The Big Charm's really nice to help against single prize Pokemon. Some players might throw in a couple Pokemon to tech against Decidueye, but if you have Big Charm, it makes it even harder. And then if you have Weakness Guard energy, Volcanion and Scorch doesn't become such an easy answer anymore if you remove Weakness from Decidueye. Then there are 5 basic Grass and 1 basic Dark, because Obstagoon, like I said, it's going to be the less used card between Obstagoon and Decidueye, but it is there for matchups where your opponent only has basic Pokemon. If you happen to discard your energy, it's fine. You play Ordinary Rod. So, like I said, this deck kind of goes in and out of viability based on people teching for it. One thing I would consider doing is playing a Fione, because Luke Metal players can actually just deck you out if you don't have something like this. So Fione, the ability Whirlpool Suction, once during your turn, if this Pokemon's on your bench, you may have your opponent switch their active Pokemon with one of their benched Pokemon. If you do, discard all cards attached to this Pokemon and put it on the bottom of your deck. So this would be put into the deck simply so you can have a 0-card deck, bench this, put it to the bottom of your deck. Next turn you draw it, bench it, put it to the bottom of your deck. Because the Lucario Melmetal Tag Team Zacian deck can use, so once they have, they've used Full Metal Wall GX and they have Metal Goggles, they're taking 60 less damage from attacks. They do have grass resistant Pokemon, so they can take 90 less damage. They can reduce the full 90 damage from Decidueye. So once they're doing that, they can do this loop where they use Malolana to heal 120. Then they use Eldegoss V's attack, actually, to shuffle itself back into the deck. Float Up. You may shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. And then you draw back into it. You use Happy Match to get the Malolana back, and that's where the loop comes in. So you just heal whatever damage Decidueye is able to get down, shuffle Eldegoss back into your deck, rinse and repeat until the Decidueye player decks out. If the Decidueye player is playing something like Lily's Pokédoll and Air Balloon, or Fione, then the Decidueye player can't deck out, and eventually you can get enough damage on the board with your bench damage from Splitting Arrow, or the Metal player will deck out, or you will go into just like an infinite loop, and either it'll be a tie at the very least, or double game loss, and you won't be the only one losing, depending on the tournament structure, of course. My other suggestion there was Lily's Pokédoll and Air Balloon. The Lily's Pokédoll is already a fine card in Decidueye because you can send it up to take some hits for you, instead of them taking prize cards if you're trying to set up. But if this Pokemon is your active, you can put it on the bottom of your deck just like with Fione. But it does have to be in the active spot, so I would like to see Air Balloon in the deck as well, so you can attach Air Balloon to Decidueye, retreat into Pokédoll, put it to the bottom of your deck, rinse, repeat. You would probably want 2 Air Balloons if this was your option, but if you already wanted Air Balloons and this is the way I would go, the easier tech is just the single Fione for that situation. So this is the deck profile for Obstagoon Decidueye, DECI GOONS, whatever it is you want to call it. A deck that got top 4 in a 100+ player tournament by Ed Valencia, so congrats to Ed. Glad to see him doing well. And I will leave the link to his Twitch and Twitter either in the pinned comments or the description. I believe it's Edge TCG or Edge TV or Edge something. You'll see the link down there. I don't remember the exact Twitch channel name. I'm sorry, Ed. But if you're interested in seeing how this metagame is shaping up in the Team Up Through Darkness Ablaze standard format, I will be putting out a Best Decks in Standard installment, the first one for this format, on Monday, August 31st. And I'll be encompassing a ton of results in that. So 3 Hexter tournaments, which have been like 80, and then 2 of them 100+ players. I'll be using the results from the Hyperlux tournament, which had 87 players in it. And I'll also use the results from the Players' Cup Finals Top 16. So we'll look at what archetypes, what decks have been really performing well in the first week or so of the post-rotation standard format with Darkness Ablaze in it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and leave a like if you did like the video, because it helps me reach new viewers, possibly like yourself today. Use code Celio for 5% off if you need some PTCGO codes over at PotownStore.com. They have everything you could ever need for PTCGO. Hope you had a good day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.